All right, welcome everybody to our latest podcast on the MX Vice network, where we review the WSX finale in Melbourne, chat some AMA Supercross, talk about Brad's testing work at MX Vice, and have a general chat about the sport. Before we get cracking, we'd firstly like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox Racing, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acherby's, ASP Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, O'Neill, and of course Even Strokes for all their incredible support, as without them none of this is possible. Also, before we welcome Brad, a big shout out to Whole Shot Motorhomes for jumping on board to sponsor our upcoming podcast. Whole Shot Motorhomes is the UK's specialist motorhome dealer for motorsport transport. We specialise in garage motorhomes and race vans that are suitable for a wide variety of sports. Motorhomes and race vans for motocross, motorhomes and race vans for karting, motorhomes and race vans for motorbikes, mountain bikes, enduro and more. They know that one of the ingredients for a great race weekend is having good transport. That is something that is easy to load, keeps your bike secure during transport, is practical in the paddock, and is safe to secure during the weekend. And of course, it needs to be comfortable to make sure you're on the money when it comes to race time. As long-time weekend racers, they understand all this and speak your language. Especially check out the Commander motorhome that's sure to fit all motocross riders and their families' needs. Check them out online. We also have an article on the website and a video on our YouTube channel, so go check them out and read all about it. So thanks to them for jumping on board. And welcome to the show too, Brad. How's life? And yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, not too bad. All good. And also another big thank you to Yamaha UK, who are supplying us at MX Vice with a 2024 YZ450 for the year to do all of our testing bits on. So yeah, recently just went out on that on the weekend to test the new Fox V3 RS, which came out in October. Luckily, the weather held off for sort of a week or so, and caught it just right. The guys at Thornbury MX did a cracking job at Froster. Really couldn't ask for better conditions for that time of year, and it was good to get out on the new 450, try the new helmet, and the review for that should be up on MX Vice within the next day or two. So, keep an eye out for that. There's still big sales going on at evenstrokes.com, and anything else that you're looking to buy from evenstrokes.com, the code BradWheeler10 is still active on certain products. Anything that's in the Black Friday sale, I don't think you can use the code, but give it a try. Worst case scenario, it won't work. But big thanks to those guys as well. Yeah, it's been the weather in England's been pretty shocking the last month or so. This took a real turn. The winter's definitely coming in. Ground's starting to freeze. Having to get up earlier to defrost the van and things like that. So ready for summer. And it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a long winter with not a lot of riding going on, but hopefully we can still try and get out on the bike a little bit and do a bit. But
just some early thoughts on the Yamaha and the helmet too, mate. Obviously great products, really cool that they've been involved and, been helping out MX Vice all year, especially on the Fox side with the banners, but I'm sure Yamaha are definitely looking to incorporate them more this year. Obviously with the bike, it's really exciting. You went to the test in south of France too, mate. Got some really great insights and just to test them out. It's obviously a great package, which we've heard from all around the world. So just a couple of early insights, what's good about them both, maybe even some critiques as well, mate. So your take on them just quickly before we get to the racing.
Yeah, I mean, MX Vice got a great relationship with Fox. They send us like a full gear every year, really, like a full setup. Last year it was the new Instinct that came out. This year they've obviously got the new V3 RS, which I don't want to give too much away before the review comes out. But it's vastly different to the old style. They've gone away from the magnetic peak, which I imagine is music to some people's ears. They've gone away from that. It's the sort of the things that you get with the V3 RS. You get like the spare peak, spare screws, but you also get a mud visor, a foam to sit on the mud visor. You get a peak extension. You get a different mouthpiece to put like a drinks camel pack straw through. You get plus 3 mil cheek pads and -3mm cheek pads, and a real nice proper helmet bag with pockets and everything to put your stuff in. You really do get a lot with the new V3 RS, and it's super comfy, it's super light, it's kind of everything you'd expect from a Fox helmet. Don't want to give too much away, but yeah, it's a great helmet. First impressions, and the Yamaha, pretty much everything you've heard about it is true. Planted, suspension is plush, super level, turns on a dime. Not really been able to pick fault in it at the moment. I mean, just the power, the way it handles is such a lovely bike to ride. Really just a great bike. I mean, it's bike of the year. So, I'm looking forward to doing some testing on it. We're going out with MotoClick in a couple of weeks, which is a suspension tool. So it'd be interesting to sort of get the suspension dialed right in. I did check the sag and it was pretty much bang on straight away. So, it'd be good to get out with those guys and do a bit. And also try a few of the GYTR parts that Yamaha have to offer. So we'll see what we can do. But yeah, first impressions, absolute gem of a bike. Can't knock it.
And also, just quickly, you're heading out to test the new Kawasaki range as well this week, aren't you, mate? With big things expected from that. Obviously, all the early reports are excellent on that too, mate. So, a couple of great bikes. Must be just enjoying it, mate, getting to test them out. And off to Spain, isn't it, for that one?
Yeah, flying out to Spain, Barcelona, on Thursday with the Kawasaki UK guys to test the new 24 450, which anyone who's sort of got their ear to the ground has probably heard great things about this new 450. So super excited to ride that. I rode the 23 model all this year, race it this year, and it was a great bike. So super keen to get out on the new one and see what improvements they've made. I did have a look. They had the motorcycle live show in Birmingham on the weekend as well, and I did manage to get out there for a few hours and have a look around, and they did have it up there. So I had a little nosy at it, and it looks like an impressive bit of kit. The one of the big points I didn't like about the old model is the silencer muffler looked absolute trash. The standard one, just not a good look. But it looks like they put a bit of thought into this one, and does look a lot more sleek and much better finish. So if anything, there's that. But super excited to get out to Barcelona, especially with the weather how it is. Yeah. And obviously it's a great time of year if you're a test rider. Everyone's bringing out new stuff for 24. And you get to go on these little jollies to Barcelona and south of France and what have you. So I don't take it for granted for sure, but it is lovely.
Nah, mate, enjoy it, mate. Really interesting to see your feedback and thoughts on it because, the early reports have been exceptional. So, mate, on to the racing. Obviously, Dean Wilson won the Aussie Championships on Friday night. He got the job done pretty well in Australia, won every race except one. Obviously, Luke Clout was excellent in that last one. And then WSX, Max and Kenny won those championships. How good was it, mate? What were your takeaways from it? Obviously, great to have another British champion on the world stage. I guess it's been over 20 years, that sort of highly documented stat Max was mentioning, which is really cool for him. He was just so happy about it, getting that gold medal. And, he said he's dreaming about it. He's just raced all over the world. He's definitely done it the hard way. He's such a skilled and talented rider. Definitely a cut above. You could tell just the skill in the whoops and the track and just the way he navigates sections. He's really come into his own, and he was the clear standout in both the Aussie series and the WSX. So 2 titles, 2 nights, great weekend for Max especially. So just the way he gets through everything, he just stays on the pegs a little bit longer in certain sections, carries the momentum, the roll speed's excellent. So your thoughts on Max and Kenny? Obviously, pretty awesome weekend for him. Kenny obviously was 5 points down, had that deficit. Rose above, he was obviously, they want him to probably win the marquee star of the series, but it was good that he sort of had a bit of a test in that last one, had to face some adversity, had some clutch problems and just some bike issues he had to keep adjusting on the fly, and I guess compromised to just get through the weekend, but came out swinging after a disastrous round in Abu Dhabi, played it smart, played it safe, did what he had to do to get the job done, and back-to-back titles for him on the WSX stage. Pretty cool, mate. So long time since Suzuki's won a title. as well. So it was good to see that, mate. So just your thoughts on those two, mate. You can start with Anstie being a Brit. So obviously great for the sport and great for the UK as well.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's sort of around my age, a few years younger, a few years older, is kind of watched Max work his way through the ranks, like the Future West Supercross over here, which like the Supercross they did back in the day. And like Max would always turn up 65s, 85s, and just smoke it, and then you'd go over and do Bursey, and you'd be at the front of that, and yeah, it was kind of always sort of seen that he was going to go, he was going to do the Supercross, he was going to be like the best chance England were going to have it, basically someone up there in the AMA Supercross. Yeah, obviously, for people who don't know Max's story, kind of, I'm not going to go into the details because it's not really my story to tell, but obviously he went over to America at a pretty young age, did like rode for KTM, turned pro over there, rode for what is now the Star team, had a few decent Supercross results, ended up coming back over to the GPs with teammates with Tommy, which was CLS Kawasaki, and then it was basically in the GPs then up until a couple of years ago, where he ended up without a ride, went back to America with HEP, the Twisted Tea team, put in some good results, then went on to the Rocky Mountain team, which obviously kind of went to shit sort of halfway through that season.
And Savatgy was on that too, wasn't he?
Yeah, Savatgy, and was McElrath on that team as well, or was he a fill-in? But just, basically that team obviously went to pot. He ended up signing with Yuriv on the Firepower Honda team, which is who he rides for now. And like a world title is a dream for any motocross rider as a kid. It's good to see sort of all of the hard work he's put in through the years, all the things he's been through, to finally pay off. He was clearly the class of the field. It's not like he lucked into it. The first round he had some good battles with McElrath and Enzo Lopes. The second round, McElrath it wasn't happening. The third round, Max was just the best guy by a considerable way. Made quick passes, was smooth in the rhythms, made minimal mistakes, and showed why he deserved to be the SX2 world champion. I think in the 250 class, I think he's arguably one of the best Supercross riders in the world. I mean, he was getting podiums in the AMA Supercross West Coast at the start of the year, East Coast at the start of the year, which is no joke. So be interesting to see what he can do off the back of this going into the AMA.
Obviously got that win at East Rutherford too, which was just incredible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously the East-West shootout took the win. Whether it was muddy or not, everyone was still out there. I'm super interested to see what he can do come the AMA, whether he does West or East, what he can do with the confidence that he's got, because he's definitely riding much better than what he was last year, even, I think. With Kenny, I'm pretty sure Kenny probably was the last rider to win a title with Suzuki in 2016, I think. Obviously the AMA Outdoors. And I think this is probably their first Supercross title since Dungey, I guess, in 2010. Obviously he was kind of expected to win, probably not expected to be as close as it was, but I guess that's why they drop the gate each night, is because Vince Freeze is riding. And anything can happen. Obviously Kenny is just a world-class rider, a phenom. You take his massive arm injuries out of it, and the dude's probably got 4 or 5, 6 more titles on his mantelpiece. But obviously Savatgy is another world-class rider, but he's just not the level of Roczen and your Tomacs and people like that. But yeah, obviously he took it down to the end. Vince decided it wasn't meant to be in the last one. And yeah, that's all she wrote. I mean, I didn't have an issue with what Vince did. It was the first turn. That's what happens in the first turn sometimes. I think Vince was actually relatively decent this weekend. Like, just didn't do anything stupid. I mean,
against the Aussie guy, Wilsey.
Yeah, who was the Aussie? What was his name?
Yeah, Dylan Wilsey sort of got the revenge after.
Second turn, punted in. And like, yeah, if you're gonna run it in on Freezy, you better make damn sure that you hit that motherfucker straight off the track, because if you don't, he's coming straight back at you. Which is exactly what happened. Give it 2 or 3 turns, and the Aussie guy was sitting with his mum and dad in the stand. But yeah, I love it. I love racing like that. It's not when it's racing like that and you're just kind of just darting across the corner, you're not hitting someone at like 40 mile an hour and breaking the leg. You're just giving them a bump, and yeah, I love it. Love to see it. I think it's great.
Chad Reed, the commentator, was saying there was nothing too much wrong with it. So Chad Reed says it's all right. It's probably all right, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I'd like to see more of it in the AMA. I think they're too gentlemanly in the AMA. It's only really Barsha, maybe Anderson, that'll run it in on you. But yeah,
it made for interesting racing. And I wanted to get back to obviously Anstie with that sort of Supercross only. He's got that new lease on life, doesn't he, with it, mate? You know, he's just so much motivation for him now. He really loves it. He's obviously, the whoops are just so excellent when you watch him and the other riders, especially in the Aussie series. He's an absolute monster in them. And he just wants to keep the momentum going, doesn't he, mate? Obviously, led by the team. Yuriv Konski's a great owner. He's certainly been paying out the bonus checks to Max, that's for sure. And Marty is the team manager. He does a great job getting the bike right and just puts in the hours to get it all sorted. I believe he said he's off for East Coast Supercross, so yeah, he'd probably back himself to be podiums every week, and maybe even a sneaky contender depending on how it all plays out, mate. Obviously, Hunter Lawrence is out of the class now, so that opens up some space. It'll be really competitive, that 250 class, and he's got so much experience, which definitely holds him in good stead, mate. So I guess that'd be the aim for him. And just your thoughts, mate, on the UK scene of Supercross. How much of a boost is it for having someone like Max, obviously having such good success? It's a great sort of character chase for the youngsters over there, mate. They'll be building Supercross tracks in the backyard, I guess, like Chad Reed with the Australians and the legends that have followed after him to a degree. So yeah, Anstie, Supercross in the UK hopefully gets a good uplift with that, mate.
Yeah, I think, we did a podcast with Max sort of in the Supercross season, and yeah, he said he's got no interest in outdoors, GPs or nationals, any of it. Yeah, he's quite happy with his Supercross only deal. And yeah, obviously it's working out for him. I think the Arenacross scene over here has had a bit of a new lease of life as well, especially with them kind of putting a stop to all the French guys coming over. It's really it's basically just brought in the top British guys to do it, because even though Conrad and Tommy and people like that are great riders, they're not really going to compete realistically with the likes of Subaras and Ramet in an Arenacross event. They just don't ride it enough. So yeah, basically the promoter and Matt Bates deciding to say no to all these French Arenacross riders that just do it all year. It's brought in those British riders, which the British fans know. If you don't watch Arenacross and you don't watch French Supercross and things, you haven't got a fucking clue who Cedric Subaras is and Thomas Ramet and Gregory Randa. You just wouldn't know who they are because they don't do any motocross events. So why would you want to pay to go and watch them in Manchester or Wembley or wherever? Whereas with your likes of Tommy Searle and Conrad Muse and Josh Gilbert, you're like, yeah, I'll pay me 20, 30 quid and go and watch it two barrels of shit at each other in Manchester. Which is, I think, is a great business move. Are they pulling out massive rhythms? No, probably not. But the racing is definitely closer. There was great racing last year between Conrad and Tommy, and also they've obviously the Pro-Am class is a great addition that they brought in a few years ago. It's basically just an amateur class, but it's sort of basically a working man's class, really, like for myself or anyone who wants to give it a bash, really. It's not a youth rider, but isn't a pro rider, like a clubman class, I guess, something like that. But yeah, they've got a number. Like, I think they've got 5 different venues, 7 different rounds, and yeah, I think obviously with riders like Max and Dean doing the Australian Supercross and both winning the titles, both being from Great Britain, is definitely a big plus in the cap of British Supercross / Arenacross for younger kids as well. Yeah.
What I'd also say, it's an interesting point you make there about how they've moved away from getting the international riders in, whereas in Australia, they're sort of really happy to have them because the Aussie guys want to be tested to raise the level. Obviously, it's Supercross and Arenacross, 2 different things. The Arenacross has probably got that more fun side, and it's just sort of more for the fans than anything in a lot of ways. Obviously, the riders enjoy it, but yeah, you want to sort of make that an event that's appealing, whereas over here, obviously, you have Brayton's just crushed it, Anstie, Wilson. Obviously, you have Hill, Thompson, Wageman this year, and even the youngster Parker Ross, who'll be doing Supercross Futures, just another Ureed Konski team Honda rider. And yeah, he just dominated the SX3 class. So yeah, look out for him in futures. Really great talent, really good young kid. So yeah, it's an interesting chat, isn't it, mate? Obviously the Aussie guys would like to claim the titles, but it's probably not realistic, but at least it gives them a sort of a goal to work towards because they sort of realise the gap and the areas that need to be addressed to make up that level. So 2 ways of looking at it, isn't it, mate?
Yeah. I think like you said, the Aussie promoters encourage anyone to come and do it. But yeah, over here, just it went through a bit of a period where some British guys were doing it, like Banks Brown was doing it, and ended up just getting T-boned by someone and broke his leg, and then he was just out for the entire year. And I think it put a lot of people off, put a lot of team managers off. They were obviously spending like decent amounts of money for these riders, and then they're not even making it to round 1. And yeah, I mean, Arenacross in England is not like Arenacross in America. It's not like the Australian Supercross. It is tight. It is like aggressive. It's like it's basically 12 Vince Freezies on the line. Like if you're going to pass someone, you're going to make contact. Like it's it's full on bar banging. Just sawing front ends off, don't work, like cross jumping, whatever, bring it on. It's something to behold for sure. If anyone who's never watched it, I recommend you sort of, if you go onto YouTube and watch the 2016 final in Wembley, and it will blow your mind. It's Cedric Subras and Thomas Ramette both going for the title. I think there's like 2 points in it, and Subras basically gets held up by Ramette's teammate Cyril Coulon, and Subras just cleans him out, like ridiculously aggressive. And then Coulon waits for him, ghosties his bike into him. They both go down. And then Subras is literally just rolling around, waiting for Ramette to catch him up. And then he's just trying to nail him off the track. And in the end, he just ghosts his bike. It misses Ramette. His bike goes flying over the berm, and he just walks off the track to the pits. It's just fucking mayhem. Honestly, you've never seen anything like it. It's like watching, it's like watching the bumper cars at a fair. And then I think Chatfield ended up winning the race of all people. But yeah, I mean, that's just British Arenacross. It's that's how it goes. I wouldn't expect the likes of Wilson and Brayton and Elite Clout and like people like that to come over and do it, because one, even though they're much better Supercross riders, they won't have the separation there, and there's a very good chance they'll probably just start 5th and finish like 4th, because there's no big rhythms. There's no, even though the whips are decent size, they're not massively long. They don't get capped out. And yeah, I mean, we had Josh Hansen come over, I think in 2017, 2016, and I think he did like 2 rounds and thought, you know what, F this is dog shit. I'm finishing like 6th, getting beat by some Welsh dude called Ashley Greedy, and yeah, I'm out. So it's a different sport.
Nah, it's interesting, mate. Obviously, the series this year will probably throw up some more drama, but probably not to that level for sure, mate. But yeah, I want to get your take on Joey Savatgy as well. Obviously, he didn't get the job done, but his riding was still good throughout the WSX series. Obviously, had the freeze incidents, which didn't help his cause, but obviously no AMA Supercross with him. A lot of chat about that rule. He obviously would want to do it on a 250, but 2024 motocross on the Triumph will be really good. Obviously, he mentioned afterwards that he wants to gun for that title, which is, I reckon, if they can get the bike dialed and get, they got a lot of time between now and then. So distinct possibility he could get that title, isn't it, mate? He's got the experience, the skill, brings so much to the table in terms of, starts have usually been really good as well. So it'd be pretty exciting to see him battle it out with those 250 guys too, mate.
Yeah, I mean, Joey's a great rider. Obviously, got multiple 250 Supercross wins, was literally a corner and a half away from winning the 250 East title in 2017. He's got multiple outdoor wins on 250, like had the points lead at times. So obviously this is going back like 6 or 7 years ago now. So things have changed. I imagine the intensity is not what he's used to. But yeah, for sure, he's got the speed, and it's not out of the realms of possibility. But obviously, Triumph, new bike, you got to kind of expect to have a few teething problems. Fingers crossed they don't have any, and it's just like normal things like bike setup and stuff like that. But I kind of foresee there's nothing major. I mean, Triumph's a global brand, and they know what they're doing. But obviously, motocross is much different to what they're used to doing. So it'd be interesting to see how they fare. But I would have. It's a shame he's not allowed to do the 250 Supercross, because I think actually in that he would have a much higher chance of doing something, because he's a very good Supercross rider, and like you said, gets good starts and puts himself in good positions. He's obviously got the experience. So yeah, it is a real shame that they won't let him move back down. And the same with McElrath, because they're both really good riders, and they obviously don't have a ride to do the 450. So it's a shame that you're going to lose 2 riders of that caliber just because of this stupid rule.
Which isn't even enforced at the moment, is it?
No, it's like, it's nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows who can ride what class. I get that, like, I get the win the title one, you have to defend and move up. But obviously, that's the rule they're running at the moment. But the rule that kind of forced them out of the class a few years ago is no longer a thing. So I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be allowed to move back down. But I mean, I don't run the AMA, unfortunately.
Yeah, like you said, the WSX does offer these guys a pretty good avenue to make some money and get a really good ride, and put themselves in contention for a world title. But also, what were your thoughts on the track, mate? Obviously, it slickened up a lot, hearing the guys there from Friday to the Saturday between the Aussie and the World round. Certainly caught some guys out. Obviously, that first turn made up some pretty good bunching, and there was a bit of carnage going on there, mate. And also, the top blocks caused a bit of havoc with the cardboard with the wrap getting caught in people like McElrath's wheel, and just sort of proving another sort of difference maker. Your thoughts on those tough blocks, mate? Obviously, the AMA ones, there's a lot of goods and bads about them too. And there's also the Para Supercross ones. People enjoyed them. The dudes were saying with the big freestyle ramp that they had there over the finish line, wasn't it? So that was pretty intimidating for the guys at first. Some of them were mentioning, but after a while, they just enjoyed it because it was consistent, same every time. Just once you sort of hit it a few times and got the confidence up, it was sort of all good to go. And I guess a lot of dudes had some issues with passing on that track. Obviously, if you didn't get the whoops right, like, say, Kenny was doing. But even he got stuck behind Oldenburg in the heat race, didn't he? So it was an interesting track, hard to get past. You sort of had to make it work, sort of stick sections together and sort of piece it together, and, corners in advance, set it up and then pounce. So your thoughts on the track, mate, and everything surrounding it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, after watching Abu Dhabi, anything was going to be an improvement. Yeah. But yeah, look, the stadium looked ginormous. I don't know what it is they do in there.
Yeah, it's like AFL ground. They play rugby. They
yeah,
do
like
there. It's
look
sort of 50 to
massive. So
60,000 seater, so it's huge.
yeah, like plenty of floor space, and yeah, I mean the track was decent. Had some good rhythm sections. I don't like whoop sections out of a 90-degree corner. It just kind of really encourages people to just roll through the inside. And yeah, just get through the whoops at a decent pace and then back round the inside. I much prefer them out of a 180 where the good Supercross riders can really carry some speed and get on top of them.
How good was Kenny through there, just quickly, mate? How he'd sort of square off the corner and just arrow it down the middle and even the inside so he can set himself up for the next quarter. So impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just kind of goes to just kind of shows the separation that he's able to go outside, get squared up, and how well he can get across the top of the whoops and still make time compared to those that were like cutting across the inside and sort of skimming through the whoops, but sort of more in and out. But yeah, I think if that would have been a 180 before it, you'd have seen Kenny just blitzing by people at a serious rate. Sort of like at Paris when they didn't, like him and Jet didn't get the start, so just blowing by people in the whoops, like out of that 180, just hooking a gear and just on top of them, making it look so easy. Yeah, and with it looked like quite a few people were having issues with the tough blocks in Australia. Like a couple of people were clipping them. Obviously, McElrath had the problem with it getting caught in his back wheel. Yeah, I've seen a few people that landed on him. I thought that, like, obviously, if that would have been America, chances are they probably would have gone down because they're just like a foam ball. It seems like when you land on them, you just explode off in a different direction. Whereas, obviously, yeah, the WSX one's just like a cardboard box. So yeah, if you do land on it, you just kind of crush it and carry on. But yeah, I guess in terms of safety, if you're going to jump off the track, you'd probably rather the cardboard one. But if you're about to go over the bars and land on your back, you probably want the foam one.
Like the Tomac incident this year.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, which way do you go with it? Are you trying to stop people from crashing? Like, or are you trying to protect them? And yeah, I think the Paris ones are like the big blow up ones, which yeah, I mean, if you land on that thing, you're just gonna fly away. But yeah, I mean, it's also not gonna move. Like, I kind of like it, kind of don't like it. I mean, they all three have got the pros and cons. If you're all you're looking to do is mark the edge of the track out, I think the cardboard ones are the better option. Obviously, you still get your banner, you still get your signage on them, and if someone clips them, they're not gonna go down. But obviously, in terms of protection, if you're gonna crash, you'd rather land on a bit of foam than just a box.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's a good topic to talk about, mate. And obviously, the other one that sort of divides opinion was the sort of hectic tree race format they've been using. Obviously, starts are so key. If you get buried back there, you're in some serious trouble in those short formats to get yourself back into a good position. Certainly had their work cut out. Obviously, the way there's not much time between those first and second ones too, which adds in another element. Not much time to fix any bike issues, or if you want anything changed, and get a quick something to eat and some water, and then you're back at it. I guess the bikes are pretty hot too. Anstie was saying, I remember, in these kind of formats. But I suppose it's good for the series like that to add some drama and incident, as opposed to the longer events where someone like Roczen would probably just be coasting out to, quite a large lead, especially if he got a start. So your thoughts on it, mate? Is it too confusing for the casual fans to keep track of? Because obviously they sort of are not like us and following it deeply and sort of really involved in it, which is part of the job. But yeah, it might be a little bit sort of deterring fans away from it all. But I suppose in terms of the action packed, fitting it all in, good for the fans. That's probably the best way to keep the fans in the stadium and the TV engaged in a lot of ways, those short, sharp formats, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely keep people engaged. The sort of finish, rack and back up, definitely keeps people engaged. It isn't confusing, but if you're watching it thinking it's an AMA Supercross event, it can get a bit confusing. The way
obviously the Aussie round on the Friday was the more conventional style, and then that was WSX was completely
like
different.
The way they have the two heat races, and then they have the two Grand Prix, and then they have the super final, is a little confusing. I don't really get the difference between the Grand Prix and the super finals. I guess the two Grand Prix obviously add up to make an overall, but then is the super final something separate as well? I'd rather just have three Grand Prix, and then have like all three add up to an overall winner. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, the Super Pole, always like the Super Pole, because like a lot of the time, unless you're like in the industry, don't get to see qualifying, like the hot laps and things like that. So it's always good to see riders like Kenny that are capable of sort of really finding an extra gear in those sort of situations. And yeah, I do like the Super Pole. I wish they'd do that in the AMA. Maybe not every round, but like a few. But yeah, I like the format. It's something different. Yeah, and I don't think it's overly confusing. I think it does keep people engaged, especially when we went to watch in Birmingham, and it can be quite a long time between races if like where they wrap them back up. If they'd sort of gone back to the paddock for I don't know 20-30 minutes and then the 450s came out, it's sort of very long, dragged out. The atmosphere kind of dies down, and yeah, I think it's good. I like the way they've just not gone for the conventional two heat races and LCQ and the main event. They've sort of ventured out, tried something new. Some things have worked, some things haven't worked, but yeah, overall, I think it's better than what it was last year, and that I'm sure they'll continue to improve.
And obviously an ideal amount of rounds would probably be 5 or 6, which I'm sure they're working hard towards, Adam and the team. You know, it's so hard to do it. You know, it must be just an absolute nightmare to organise it. And I was speaking to Regan Duffy last week, a really good Aussie rider, and he goes, I guess you got to give these guys time because, you know, you look back at the first Supercross all those years ago, and, you know, you just got to give these things time to sort of grow and develop and work out the best ways to approach it. When you take it on the world stage, you know, there's so many different rules and regulations and just traveling, the transport, you got to deal with all of it. So it must be an absolute nightmare to manage. So considering all that, you got to give the guys, the organisers, massive amount of respect for getting it all up and running, especially in the sort of Corona time was when they kicked it off as well. It's definitely not been an easy process, but to just get a product on the table that's at a really high level, you must say. It's pretty impressive what they've done in such a short amount of time. So much adversity, obviously a lot of negative feedback you hear from the keyboard warriors, but I believe if you focus on the positives, there's a lot to sort of take away from it, mate. And I guess your thoughts on it as a whole, obviously a couple of years in now, it's sort of probably not taken shape the way they would have liked it. They've had ownership changes. There's been a lot of turmoil, a lot of staff changes in personnel, different opinions from all over. You've obviously got the AMA SX versus WSX, whereas, you know, it's not really a versus. It's sort of you want them to coexist to sort of elevate the sport as a whole, the profile, just get more eyes on it, more people involved in it. More people watching it in person is the way ahead for growth, isn't it, mate? So, yeah, I guess your thoughts on it all and how the progress is going, and hopefully another uptick in 2024 where they'll be looking to add more rounds. Obviously, the schedules are getting more and more with the SMX and MX is massive. Obviously, that's not such an issue, but there's just a lot of racing they've got to try and fit in and not try and cross over to take eyeballs away from it because, you know, the core fans are going to be watching their AMA and MX obviously all the domestic championships. So to get that rider pool, the entry list is pretty solid considering when it's timed and, you know, Supercross prep's right in the swing of things. A lot of guys are using this as Supercross prep. So that's how they're heading in because A1's really not that far away, mate. So be cool to get your take on it all.
Yeah, I think it's obviously growing, and I think it's never going to attract riders in their prime, I don't think. Just obviously because teams like, well, basically all the factory teams like Red Bull, KTM, North America, American Honda, Pro Circuit Kawasaki, the teams like that, their goal is the AMA Supercross and Arenacross. That's what the brands are paying them for. They're paying them to win those titles. The WSX, obviously, this year it kind of worked relatively well with it all being pretty much after the season minus the first round. But from the sounds of it, next year it is going to be much more clashed with the nationals, which obviously riders like Roczen, you kind of have free will to do whatever they want. Riders like your Justin Starlins or your Kate Clayson and people like that, it's a good revenue for them. But then obviously SMX and things come into play, like they want to get points so they can make sure they're in that. It's yeah, I think you're very much going to see a divide of riders that are WSX guys and the AMA guys. I mean, I'd like to see.
I mean, it was cool to see
like
Colt Nichols winning that last one, wasn't it? Such an awesome rider. But
yeah,
so much turmoil with teams and injuries. Obviously, that'll probably be the last time he's doing with that beta program he's on now, which would be sort of all hands on deck, developing the bike and a lot of testing. And yeah, obviously there'll be struggles, but there'll be exciting times ahead, and it's good for the sport having that, isn't it, mate? So Colt Nichols in any form of sport is awesome. He's such a good bloke. You guys have had a chat to him as well recently. So I guess we'll lose him for next year, but still they'll pick up some more riders, no doubt. And I guess with guys coming to the end of their careers, you maybe look at Mookie, Christian Craig, Marvin Muscan, obviously Roczen's already there. So there's, pretty cool names to maybe target in the future as well for them, depending on the money and how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, you're not just going to get like, no disrespect to them, but like your mid to back of the pack main event guys, it's not just going to be people like that. You are going to get like people like you said, like Mookie, Christian Craig, Muscan, people who are at that tail end of their career, that might not necessarily want to do the nationals, or they haven't got a ride and things like that. But I think I could definitely see someone like Christian Craig doing them. He seems like the sort of guy that would enjoy like going to Oz, coming to England, going to France and the Middle East and wherever they end up going. So yeah, I think I definitely see it sticking around. It does need to get a more sort of solid calendar and like sort of platform and things like that. Like not say they're going to go to Germany and blah 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 blah, and then just end up going to Oz in England and basically it's God knows where in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I think some research needs to be done in between now and the sort of the first round. It like let's go. This is going to be a good venue. Let's go here. This country wants to do it, but they haven't really got anywhere. So let's not make the same mistake we did with Abu Dhabi and have a terrible track just for the sake of going there. Because even though Abu Dhabi probably paid for them to have the event, I think it lost a lot of viewers and fans because it just wasn't good to watch. And that's basically the whole reason to do it, I guess. Like that's what pays for these riders. That's what that's the whole reason you put on these events, is to get viewers, and people don't want to watch things like that. Like, they want to watch, like, Birmingham was decent, Oz was decent, like Paris is good. So yeah, I think it's definitely got a future. They do need to do a bit more research in stadiums and sizes and things like that, but I imagine they'll keep one in England, they'll keep one in Australia. It'd be good to see one in France, like
Germany with Kenny.
Like Japan. Yeah, Germany. Definitely Germany with Kenny. Like even like over in Japan. Yeah, just I think they're on the right track for sure. Just sort of fine tuning, which I guess is the same with any new series. Like you said, like if you look back to the first AMA Supercross, like what that was like compared to what it is now, and that's taken them sort of however many years to get to this point. So yeah, I think for a second time out, considering it was only really 2 rounds the first year, it's I guess you could class this as 2.5 rounds. Not really counting Abu Dhabi as a full round. But yeah, it was an improvement. The layout, not the layout, the format of the races works, I think. Yeah, I think it is it's going to be here to stay. It'd just be interesting to see what riders they get signed up for next year.
Yeah, it'd be good, mate. Good points there. And there's definitely huge scope for improvement in the series. So watching it all play out will be interesting for sure, mate. Before we get your final thoughts, we'll just thank the sponsors for this one in Fly Racing, Monster Energy, Fox, Parts Europe, Scott, Bell Helmets, Acherbys, A2 Performance, Kawasaki UK, KTM UK, obviously Yamaha, O'Neill, and Even Strokes for all the incredible support, as without them, none of this would be possible. Also, big shout out to Whole Shot Motorhomes for jumping on board to sponsor these podcasts. Check them out online at their website. Check out the Commander Motorhome. And if you want any more information, head to their website, read the article on our website, check out the YouTube video. It's all there. We'll put a link to all their stuff in the post on the website when this goes out. So thanks to all them. Thanks to all the listeners to supporting the site as well and listening to us. We really appreciate it. Any feedback's always welcome. So that's it for this one, mate. And we'll let you close this one out, Brad, with some final thoughts on what's going on with you at MX Vice and what the listeners can expect in terms of your content.
Yeah, so like I said at the start, heading out to Barcelona Thursday to test the new Kawasaki 450. So keep an eye on the MX Vice for that review. That hopefully sort of be out within sort of a week or two of the trip. Usually have to sort of wait for the media pictures that people have taken to get emailed out. That usually takes a few days. So stay tuned for that. The V3 RS, the new Fox helmet, that review will be up hopefully within the next sort of 48 hours as well. So anyone who's a Fox fan, that'll definitely be worth a read as well. And yeah, sort of throughout the year there'll be dibs and dabs of Yamaha bits and stuff like that. So yeah, plenty of testing stuff coming on MX Vice throughout 2024 and beyond, hopefully. So yeah, for those that are fans of Chris Kiefer, maybe give us a try as well.
Yeah, mate, absolutely well said, and all the best, and keep up the great work, mate. And we look forward to speaking next week where you'll have some more insights on the bikes.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Thank you.